As soon as I heard that there was a gay hostel located in Bangkok, Silom, aka the ground zero for all gay shit in Bangkok, you bet your ass that I was like P. Diddy to baby oil, like a moth to a flame. So I traveled there, I went there, and I stayed there. And spoiler alert, this is not a place that I would recommend to everyone. So in this review video, as usual, I'm going to give you a brief rundown of the facilities. But if you want like a more in-depth look and a full-on tour of the facilities and the interiors of this place, then I highly recommend that you check out these channels right here and their videos. I'm mostly just going to be giving you my review and my experience of what it was like to stay there. So yeah, let's just get started. So this hostel called Togayther is tucked away in this little alley located in Silom. Again, like I said, Silom is like the main gay street of Bangkok. So you're right in the center of it. Togayther Hostel is within walking distance to most of the popular gay bars here, and it's also close to a lot of gay saunas and a lot of gay massage places. Like, it's very prime location. The hostel is also like really close to this local 7-Eleven, which you can use to gorge on cheap protein shakes, so very essential. And it's also really close to like a few local street side food stalls. So again, good location. The hostel is in a 6th floor building, with each floor being residential aside from the ground floor, which is the lobby. I stayed on the 5th floor, which is like their most basic room setup. The room consisted of like 8 to 10 shared cubicle beds or capsules, and each one comes with their own locker that is opened with your provided key card. And I gotta mention the locker is actually pretty small. Like, it did not fit my janky ass suitcase. The locker is just large enough so that you can fit in like a small carry-on luggage, or maybe like a 10 or 15 kilogram luggage. But anything larger than that, like my 20 to 25 kilogram luggage, like you're basically shit out of luck. Each cubicle comes with this like red-green switch thing, which is basically your way of telling guests if you're open for some invitations or maybe if you're just open for some like social interactions. Doesn't need to be sexual in any kind of nature, or if you don't want any of that, obviously you can switch to like red, which simply means you do not want to be disturbed, you just want some sleep, yada yada yada. But more on that later though. The cubicle is large enough to comfortably fit one person, and the cubicle comes with like a light switch and some charging ports, and yeah, it's like pretty standard. The bathrooms on this 5th floor was very, very basic, and as you can see, it's like pretty rustic looking. The other floors have their own bathrooms, and honestly, it looks much nicer than the one on the 5th floor. So what I did was that I often just went down the stairs to use the bathrooms and the showers on the 4th floor instead of using the ones on the 5th floor. Other things to note about my stay here: if you want hot water on the 5th floor, you ain't gonna get any. The only way for you to get hot water is if you go on the lower floors and you turn on the shower just a little bit, make the water pressure low, and only then will the hot water come out. And the 5th floor also comes with this like, hidden hallway, which is neat. Also, the other floors are also slightly different. I think the closer you are to the ground floor, the more private and luxurious the rooms are. For example, on the 2nd floor, I believe it is just all private rooms, like a standard hotel room, which is great if you want privacy. Other than that, there is this bar/outdoor area on the 6th floor, and that's pretty much it. The lobby on the ground floor is like the general hanging out spot. You'll see like a lot of guests just like lounging about here on their phones, blah, blah, blah. And it's also where you get to meet and play with the owner's dog. Her name is Lala. And oh my gosh, she's such a treat. As you can guess, I really enjoyed having a dog there. Okay, well, sorry, Lucy. But anyways, let's get to talking about my experience. So when I first found and entered into this place, I was informed that my check-in was at 3 p.m. I believe I arrived at like 1 p.m. So I basically just decided to sit there in the lobby and just like people watch for the next 2 hours, while I was waiting for my capsule to be set up or whatever. And as I was sitting there drinking my 7-Eleven matcha protein shake, I realized that, girl, all of the guests were like Chinese. And that's not a problem, by the way. I was just very surprised. I don't know why, but when I think hostel, the image that comes to my mind is, typically I think of like a young white backpacker, maybe like a shaggy/surfer looking kind of dude, long hair. I don't know. I just had like a certain image in my head when it came to like hostel guests, like just like very international looking. Like in my head, that was just what I was expecting, right? And I was very decently surprised to see that most of the guests were like just mainland Chinese dudes of very varying ages and body types. Either that or they were Taiwanese. I don't know. I just know that the most commonly spoken language in that hostel was definitely Mandarin. In any case, after I checked in, I was given my towel and my key card, and I also had to place a 1,000 baht deposit. It might have been 500, but I'm pretty sure it was like 1,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can switch out the towel at any time, but you must remember to return the towel when you check out, otherwise they will charge you for it. So just remember that. And they also provided you with this rubber bracelet. So these rubber bracelets that the hostel provides are actually meant to designate your position, which I think is a pretty cool, neat idea. And what's cooler is that the hostel actually gives these to you. You don't actually have to return them, so you can just keep them. That's great. Now, there's no elevator elevator in this building. So if you checked into the most basic room, which is going to be on the 5th floor, and you're a dumbass like me who brought a 20-kilogram brick of a luggage, then you're going to have a fun time. Also, fun fact, you might not know this about me, but I have this form of like stairs dyslexia, especially when I'm going down the stairs. I like lose my balance like super easily, and I like mind game myself into thinking like the steps aren't like level, so I kind of like stumble down the stairs quite often. So yeah, you know, if you're like me, just be careful and be mindful. Maybe don't pack as much as I did when you check in here, especially if you plan on staying on their most basic rooms, because that's a lot of stairs you gotta climb up. And like I mentioned, my suitcase didn't fit into the provided locker, so what I did instead was that I actually shoved the suitcase into the corner of my bed. I know it's kind of disgusting. I agree. But I don't know, I just felt like I didn't really have a choice, because what was I gonna do? Just like leave it out in the open? I mean, I guess I could have, but I just didn't really feel safe doing that personally. Like I was just like, you know, worried about theft. But I soon realized that even if I was super worried about theft, putting the suitcase into my capsule bed did not really provide an extra layer of security at all, which I'll get into right now. My biggest complaint and gripe about this place is that low-key, like some of the guests are kind of creepy. Obviously not everyone. Like I recall like there was this really nice Chinese guy who came up to me one time when I was like sitting in the lobby, and he was just like, hey, we're all gonna do something on the 6th floor, you know, we're gonna play some games together, you know, do you want to join us? And I was like, oh my god, that's actually so nice. I mean, okay, sure, yeah, I could join for a little bit. It turns out though that everyone that he invited like on that 6th floor was, you know, Chinese, and they only knew how to speak Chinese. So I couldn't really interact with anyone, but you know, it was still a very sweet and genuine and nice gesture. Unfortunately though, I found that most of my interactions with the guests were more intrusive than friendly. First example, during the first night when I was, you know, all snuggled up in my cubicle, it was my bedtime, it was a very long day, and I very, very clearly remembered that I switched my availability, you know, to red, meaning I did not want to be disturbed, meaning I was sleeping. And also the lights in my cubicle was turned off, right? So, you know. Anyways, you know, I went to bed and I was in the middle of some really nice deep sleep when all of a sudden I feel something grab my leg, and instantly I like shot right up. And right in front of me was the face of some Chinese guy, already like halfway into my cubicle with his hands on my leg. And like, okay, not gonna lie, he was kind of cute. Like he had like a young, nice, boyish, cute face. But like, what the fuck? And keep in mind, I was like literally like just jolted awake during my deep sleep, right? So I was like, you know, kind of delirious, wasn't really all the way there. But I was like, yo, what the fuck? What do you want? And then the guy, he just like stares at me. And then he just like starts saying something in Chinese. And then we just like look at each other and I'm like, what? And then he just crawls out and leaves on his own. And then I'm just there, like left sitting there like, like I literally just like flopped back to bed within the next 5 seconds and I just like fell asleep instantly. Hey, Lucy. And it wasn't until the next morning when I, you know, properly woke up where I was like able to process everything that happened. And I was like, oh my god, did I hallucinate that? Did that actually happen? Oh shit, yeah, that actually did happen. Like, what the fuck? Why would you do that while someone is sleeping? And what makes this worse is that this is not an isolated incident. That very same morning, after I woke up and had that realization, I clambered out of my bed and, you know, was just standing there getting my bearings, and I noticed this older Chinese gentleman walks into our room, and then he proceeds to go towards each and every single cubicle, draws the curtains, looks inside and stares inside for a little bit, and then closes and moves on to the next one. Like, regardless of whether or not the switch was like turned on the red side or the green side, it did not matter. He just blatantly just like stared into each one of the cubicles. And he did this like right in front of me as I was like, you know, getting ready. Like I just felt like he just had absolutely no awareness of how intrusive that kind of behavior was. At least for me, I personally find that behavior to be kind of intrusive. Maybe standards are different in other places, but I don't know. I just felt like it was just very odd. Like he was just doing that very blatantly and confidently in front of me. And like, you know, honestly, that level of audacity is kind of inspiring. And like maybe this is the secret cheat code to life, you know? Like if you go through life with the maximum amount of audacity, you can just get away with anything, like those pedophiles on the Epstein list. Anyways, like I said, this would become a very common occurrence. Every night, every single night I stayed there would be someone who would pull back the curtains and just stare at me, regardless of what my light switch availability thing said. It didn't matter. Like there has never been a thing more useless than that switch. I might as well just have hung like a dead rat over my bed or something, because I'm pretty sure that would have been a much better deterrent than that red-green switch thing. Like, I don't know, I just feel like some of the guests just don't know how to take a hint. Like there's this one guest in particular that I remember quite unfondly. He was maybe in like his 40s or something. There was like this very one brief interaction I had with him where I like left my cubicle and I went to my lockers in order to get something for my backpack. And like when I exited exited my cubicle, the guy was just standing there in front of the lockers and then kind of like jumps a little bit when I exited out of my cubicle. And honestly, his jump like kind of startled me a little bit. Not like an, oh, kind of startled, but more like an, oh, oh, oh. And like, you know, because of that, it kind of like made me forget what I was doing. Like, I don't know. And so I clumsily went to my locker, you know, stood in front of my locker, paused there for a second, and then suddenly realized, oh yeah, I left my key card in my cubicle. So I like turned back, crawled into my bed again, took my key card, crawled out of my bed, walked back to the locker, and shuffled through my things to grab my stuff. And the entire time, he did not move from that spot, and he stared at me the entire way through. Like, I could feel him looking at me. Like, my body was tense, okay? It felt like I was being like stun locked by the man's spirit pressure or something. And like, you know, as I like was shuffling through my things in my backpack, I just had like this vague feeling that like, you know, maybe he thought that I was actually interested in him and I was like, you know, purposefully wasting time or something, like going to the locker, then like, oh my God, I forgot my card, and then like going back into my bed, grabbing my card, and then going back to the locker, and then now I'm just like shuffling through my things. Like, I don't know, maybe he thought I was like, you know, purposefully like teasing him or like doing some sort of mind gaming nonsense so that he could like, you know, sneak in like, like touch me or something. I don't know. And like, I felt like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like he was like, you know, waiting for me to make like direct eye contact with him so that he could like swerve in. Like, that was just the feeling that I got, you know? Obviously, I'm not like some sort of omniscient mind reader god or whatever. I don't know what the man was actually thinking, but oh my God, it was just the vibe that I picked up, okay? Because, oh God, it was awkward. And every time I was like around that person, it was awkward. Every time I would see him, he would like look at me relentlessly as if he was like waiting for the hint that I would give him or something. And then there was also a time where he would like, you know, I'll be sitting inside my cubicle and he would push aside the curtains and just like look inside like this. And I know he for sure did it at least once because I saw his face once when the lights were on. There were also plenty of other times where like I'll be trying to sleep, the lights were off, and then I would see someone pull back the curtains and then just like, you know, stare into my cubicle. And I cannot confirm it was 100% him or not, but it happened many times. At least one of those times was probably him. Like, every time I was around this person, I could just feel myself suddenly turning into Sue Storm. Disappear! Erecting this barrier so that I could protect myself from the miasma of cringe that was coming my way every time he like came near me. Now, obviously, I don't think he's a bad person. I just don't think he really understood how uncomfortable he made me feel, that's all. Like, he just rolled a nat 1 on every charisma check every time he approached me. I'm sure maybe if I approached him directly and said, hey, please stop, maybe he would have stopped. I don't know. I just chose to tolerate it. And of course, like I said, this was not an uncommon occurrence. There would be other guests who would also like, you know, peer through the curtains into your cubicle. And it got to the point where like I was just expecting it to happen every night. And that was like my biggest gripe with this place. Just the total lack and disregard for privacy. Like, I get it, okay? I get that it's a hostel, it's a public space. And of course, it being a gay hostel, like... It's a law as old as the universe itself. Just like with Isaac Newton's law of inertia, Gaga's law of gay dictates that whenever you put a gaggle of gays in the same room together, there will always be some fuckery afoot. So I get it, you know? The gays, they be trying to fuck. I understand. And it's not really the hostel's fault that the guests themselves don't really listen or pay attention to the few privacy rules that the hostel tried to put in place. But it's still disappointing. And I don't know how the hostel can try to enforce this to make this issue better. I don't know what they can do personally. But it is definitely still a problem I had with this place for sure. And I hope they somehow manage to fix it. Because that was like the main deterrent for me of this place. There were a few good moments, of course. Like, there was this one instance where I was on Grindr and there was this one hot Chinese guy who was also staying at the hostel. And after spending days trying to find him and spot him in the wild in the lobby of the hostel, we eventually just decided to have a little spontaneous 5th floor meetup. And I must say, we had a productive meeting. Also, yeah, side note, unless you're staying in the private rooms, I feel like this 5th floor hidden side hallway is gonna be the most private place you have in order to do things with. Because like I said, those fucking curtains at the cubicle, they don't stop anyone from peering through. And obviously it's like not that private. Like, you know, while I was meeting that Chinese guy, there was in fact a guy who noticed us in our business meeting and he just stood by the side of the wall and stared at us for a while. Like, privacy is not really a thing here, which could be a good thing for you if that's what you're into. I don't kink shame on this channel. But if everything of what I just said sounds horrible to you, then yeah, this place is not gonna be for you, okay? Just saying. So would I recommend you staying here? Personally, I don't think I would stay here again. Unless it is in in their second floor, more private rooms, or if it's in their second hostel branch, the Togayther Hostel Black branch. And the only reason why I might stay there is because it is directly connected to their local gay spa. They run zero sauna. And I don't know, I feel like it could be an interesting experience. Like when I was in that sauna, I could see some of the guests go in and out into the dark rooms through the hostel. And, you know, could be an interesting experience. Obviously, I haven't tried it yet, so I can't say anything on that matter. But just on my experience on this main hostel, I can say that despite the perks of it being right in the middle of Silom, and with it having very nice, friendly staff, and also even with it being filled with my personal preference of having a lot of Asian people, I can't say that all those perks outweighs the discomfort I felt with the constant intrusions on my privacy. Now, if the hostel worked as intended, where the guests would stop looking into my curtain when I flipped the switch to be in the red do not disturb mode, then yeah, maybe I would have enjoyed my stay more, you know, if people respected when I wanted to be left alone. But as it is currently, yeah, I can't deal with it. Now, if you're someone who really enjoys the exhibitionism and maybe you actually like the, oh, please don't come inside, oh, you're here, oh my god, what am I gonna do? Like if you like, if that's how you are and that's what you like, then no, maybe you would like this place. Also, big plus if you're into Asians. If you're not into Asians, sorry to disappoint, but there was a lot of Asians staying here during my stay here. Like there were a few foreigners, of course, but definitely the majority were mainland Chinese dudes. I also think it's a very reasonable price, especially if you're looking for a place to stay last minute, you're in a pinch, especially if like, you know, you're trying to book a spot during White Party, God forbid, and there's like no hotels left, but you still want to be in the heart of Silom. Like this is a valid choice. That being said though, unless they change things slightly so that they have better enforcement of the rules, I'm not going back. If you stayed at the Togayther Hostel and you have differing opinions from me, please do share your opinions in the comments below. I think everyone would value greatly from differing opinions, so yeah, let me know if you liked your stay here or if you didn't. And yeah, that's everything I have to say for now. Also, as a life and health update, I just returned from EDC Thailand. My body has been destroyed, but oh my god, was it worth it? Oh my god, it was so much fun. I had the best time ever doing it. It was so much fun. And I met so many new people and I had a lot of interesting experiences. There are so many things I want to share. And I'm pretty sure if I shared even half of it, I'm gonna get demonetized to fucking hell. So I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about it. Maybe I won't. And also, I think I'm gonna start experimenting more on the branding of this channel because yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like I want to change things up. But we'll see, you know? So if you see me experimenting with like the font, with the colors of my thumbnails of my channel, whatever, maybe I'll probably change the filming location. So my iconic couch may go one of these days. Yeah, just wanted to let you guys know. And if you guys have any opinions on that, if you don't like the change, then, you know, let me know. But yeah, maybe it's time to let go of this iconic couch. Lucy, what do you think? Do you like this couch? We've had this couch since forever. But I don't know, yeah, I feel like I kind of want to have something that's a bit more aesthetic, or like try to make a space that's a bit more aesthetic and like not be as so chaotic. Yeah, Lucy! Why do you want to go, Lucy? But you know what? I also think that being chaotic is kind of my brand, so maybe I'll just keep it like this. Who knows? Ultimately, I'm just gonna do what feels right for me, and yeah, we'll just see what happens. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I guess I'll just see you guys next time, okay? See you! Thank you! It's you, it's you.